Hello and welcome to another edition of Trends on 3. I'm Latrice Curry. Coming up on today's show, we're focusing on issues and concerns when it comes to senior citizens. We'll tell you about a program that provides transitional care for the elderly. It's called the Reentry Unit. Then, not quite ready for a nursing home? Find out more about adult daycare. And finally, for those reaching the golden age and looking for living options, we'll tell you about another choice coming to the Tennessee Valley. But first, a program designed to prevent senior citizens from prematurely ending up in a nursing home. With more on the Community Reentry Unit, Rob Nelson from St. Barnabas Senior Living Services. Rob, tell me a little bit about this reentry program. Exactly what is it?
Well, it came about basically because of the feedback that I was getting as a occupational therapist. I had worked in an acute hospital setting, and I was always hearing these comments from patients that I don't want to go to the nursing home. And even though they would provide therapy, it would be that long-term care type environment. So one of the things that we've done at St. Barnabas was to develop an environment for short-term stay, isolating a specific hall. Having a specific dining area that actually will be opening very soon where they can do activities as well. And so basically they can have their own separated environment where they're engaging in a different type of activities than the long-term care residents, where they can come down and receive therapy. Really, your environment has so much to do with your success in whatever you're doing. And with the amount of feedback that we've gotten from patients, what they want is their own type of acute environment that
geared specifically towards them and their needs?
Exactly. Even the activities that we have is geared towards their needs.
With this being short-term rehab, talk a little bit about specifically some of the things you do with these patients. We have some pictures, and we'll put these up and talk a little bit about exactly some of the things you do with these patients to help them.
Well, our program is a little bit different in that a lot of long-term care programs are 5 times a week. Ours is 6 to 7 times a week. If they have an orthopedic injury, it's 7 times a week. And if you are looking for a program to go to get rehab, that's some of the questions you might want to ask is how many days a week do you get therapy? Or what's the average amount of time that you can get therapy in a typical day? But we have occupational therapy and physical therapy and speech therapy. And basically, if somebody comes in at a very low level, they can get as little as 30 minutes a day, and we can be patient with them. It doesn't have to be as strenuous as, say, inpatient rehab is they just have specific guidelines they have to function under. And what we can do is be a little more flexible, a little more patient. We have a patient right now that could literally not tolerate little more than an hour of therapy when he arrived. He literally could not even feed himself, could barely move an arm. Today, he is coming from sit to stand with supervision because we had flexibility, we had the opportunity to be patient with him, and so we could extend out his therapy over a much longer period of time and also not have the barrier of being off for 2 days over the weekend. And so that's really helping preparing him for returning home.
Because then do you have to, when you lose that 2 days over the weekend, it kind of then you have to start over, they lose some of that.
Barrier. It's a huge barrier to progress, and what happens as a therapist is you come in on Monday when you don't have that Saturday and Sunday therapy. They've been off for over 48 hours, and on Monday the only thing you're doing is regaining what was lost from, so you really have 3 lost days when you do that.
Now, how do you determine if someone is a good candidate for this reentry unit program?
Well, anybody that's had any type of decline, what this type of program is we can discharge to a variety of settings. It doesn't specifically has to be to home. It can be to an independent living or assisted living, and even if necessary, it could be to long-term care, and we just try to regain as much quality of life for that individual as possible. So there is great flexibility with that, and really the key issue is quality of life.
And that's so important, and that's what a lot of families think about when they think about those golden years, is having a good quality of life. One of the things, to no surprise, we're talking about senior citizens issues today because with the over 65 population expected to reach 72 million by the year 2030, there is a need because we don't have room for the nursing homes to be flooded with patients, and a lot of people want to be independent as long as possible, and like you said, maintain that high quality of life. So there is a great need out there for a program like this.
It really is, and even when they discharge home, I mean, we incorporate home evaluations with it. We have an outpatient, and what that is, I know there are different outpatients around town, but when you start in a specific program and can follow through and you have familiarity with the therapist and they know kind of what they've been working toward, you don't have to reorient, and patients really like that because it's a comfort zone for them.
For someone who isn't familiar with St. Barnabas, they haven't heard about the program, just got to briefly fill us in on that.
St. Barnabas has been around for about 40 years, and it is the Chattanooga's only stand-alone, non-for-profit long-term care facility. And so needless to say, we're putting our money back into our building. It is a service to the community. We have independent living, assisted living, we have long-term care, and we have this short-term community reentry unit. We call it the crew. And so, but we also provide therapy actually over the apartments and the assisted living. We have 2 separate locations. One's across the YMCA downtown, and then one is across the street from Erlanger Hospital. So what St. Barnabas' mission is providing health care to the continuum of care, but also providing therapy to help maintain as much quality of life as possible. If they're in the apartments independent living, we want them to stay in the apartments independent living. We don't have to want them to go to long-term care prematurely or live in a lacking type of way.
Okay, a great program, a much needed service. And again, if you have questions when it comes to St. Barnabas, let's put the information on the screen there so you could see that on how to get in touch with them at St. Barnabas Senior Living Services. It's area code 423-847-4105 or www.st-barnabas.com. Thank you so much for coming in. We certainly do appreciate it. Well, still to come on this edition of Trends on 3, daycare isn't just for kids. Another option when it comes to elderly care. That's straight ahead.